Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. We're glad you're here. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Also, we have this little thing called a podcast down below in the description. Subscribe to that as well. Share it with your friends.
Clarity, after many conspiracy theories, on Jimmy Garoppolo's hand injury. And he's not been ruled out for the Texans game yet. The trainers took him out to the field. He didn't last on the field very long. Before the Niners practice, Matt Maiocco tweeted, Jimmy Garoppolo exit the field, heads back to the locker room area as practice gets going. Didn't get a chance to see during the open portion of practice. Grant Cohn tweeted, Jimmy Garoppolo just walked off the practice field before it started. Seems like the test run for his thumb didn't go well. The quarterbacks at Niners practice were not Jimmy Garoppolo. It was Trey Lance and Nate Sudfeld and Tyler Bray. Now, the reason Kyle Shanahan didn't say fracture on Monday, he explained Wednesday when Maiocco asked him about it, was that this is not a bone injury that is keeping Jimmy Garoppolo, that makes him questionable for this game. It is the sprain, the grade 3 sprain, that's the problem. The sprain did chip off a little bone, but the sprain is the issue, not the fracture. So he has a chance to play, were those words.
He actually explained it pretty well. Like, if you tear your ACL, if you hit me in the knee, you're a safety. You hit me in the knee, and the ACL tears, and you crack a piece of my knee, I technically have a fractured knee and a torn ACL. But if the ACL didn't tear, I might not even notice the bone chip on the knee. But you can call it a fracture. So he tried to get, like, I was not trying to lie, but I also think it shows why was Jimmy Garoppolo's people so over the top in leaking that his injury was so bad. Because Kyle, and I don't think he wasn't trying to like shit on Jimmy or be positive with Jimmy. He was just stating like the reason I didn't say the word. Why were they so adamant about making the word out there? Because it always sounds worse when you say the word fracture than like, oh, I got a pinky sprain. That doesn't sound bad. But if I say your pinky is shattered and is fractured, you'd be like, well, he's in trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, I think there was some assumption as we went through some of the Jimmy Garoppolo conspiracies that maybe Kyle Shanahan didn't know the extent of the injury until he found out about it from Schefter and Rap Sheet. But what Kyle is saying, no, I knew. And so then to your point, it raises the question, then why was it so urgent to get the real specifics of the injury out there after Kyle Shanahan said what the injury was? Especially because when you read it, like when you and I and everyone else reads that reads the Rap Sheet tweet, right? Non-doctors go, oh, that is worse than what Kyle Shanahan said it was.
Yes.
So why was there the need to clarify that for everybody? That's a very good question. That's a good question.
And why was Jimmy Garoppolo's people, because as Wickersham once got mad at me, but I'm sorry, I source guess. I'm in the business of source guessing. It's clear the source of those tweets from Shefty and Rap Sheet came from Jimmy Garoppolo's camp. So why would they, or it definitely Rap Sheets. Why
I mean,
would
Kyle Shanahan had already spoke. So were the Niners like, oh, we actually have to get more information out there. Well, let's do that. Right. They were just, if he needed to correct it, he'd just do it the next day when he talked.
Why would they want it out there so quickly? To let everyone know? Because I keep getting back to, he got shit on worse than any single human for the last 4 days of the football, right? From Thursday, even through Sunday, Jimmy was getting drug, as the kids would say it. They drug him and dragged him. Why wouldn't you put that out there? Why did you wait? It to me is still pretty bizarre, but overall, my expectations on the Jimmy Garoppolo situation have not changed. I see I do not expect to see Jimmy Garoppolo ever playing for the 49ers again. I don't expect him to play this week. I don't expect him to play next week. And if they play the playoffs, and as Kyle said, like, we have playoff games. For us, it starts this week. And we got to win this week, and we got to win next week to ensure that we make the playoffs. Obviously, they don't technically have to win, but they need some things out of their control to happen. But I do not expect to see Jimmy Garoppolo. I expect Trey Lance to be the starter this week, and I expect Trey Lance to be the starter the following week.
I don't expect him to be the starter against the Rams at this point. I think if you asked me to put a percentage on it, I'd put a higher percentage on it that Trey Lance is the starter than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I can't say I expect it. Now, maybe Kyle Shanahan isn't naming a starting quarterback this week because, as he has always said, why would I? What does it behoove me to do it that way? But the way this week is playing out, the way that they try to get Jimmy out there and see what he's got, makes I still think, and I think last Thursday is an example of this, that if Kyle Shanahan could have it his way and everybody was healthy, Jimmy Garoppolo would be a starting quarterback. We know that. That's not a debate. That's not my opinion. That's the way it's played out this year. So the question then becomes, what percentage of Jimmy is good enough for him to put in over Trey Lance? And that's the answer. I don't know the answer to that. As mad as he probably is with Jimmy, as frustrated as you would have to be with a quarterback, to trade 3 ones to draft another quarterback that you're not going to play right away, he still has put a lot of faith in Jimmy Garoppolo this year, or at least, if not faith, put a lot of the hopes and dreams of the Niners season on Jimmy Garoppolo's ability to play the position. So there has to be a percentage of Jimmy Garoppolo that I think he'd be willing to put out there over Trey Lance. I don't know what that number is. I don't know if that's 90. I don't know if it has to be 95. I don't know if it's 85. I don't know if it's 80. I don't even know how we guess people's percentages. That's a whole other thing that makes no sense. Oh, he's 80%. Like right now, I'm kind of tired. You're like, what percentage are you? How much you got in the tank? I couldn't tell you if I'm 90% or 70%. I don't. So how we always put these percentages. Oh, he's 80%. Based on what? Does he throw the ball 80% as far as he used to? Anyway, that aside, I think there's a chance that the Texans play this week. The Rams game is a big game. In theory, it's going to be a lot harder depending on who the Rams play in that game. And so I think there's a chance that Kyle looks at it like, well, if I got to play with Trey this week, I'll play with Trey this week. And then we just, starting next Monday, we reevaluate where Jimmy is then.
I don't think, back to what you originally said, it'd be that weird. I think we see all around the league with starting players, whether you're a lineman, whether you're a quarterback, a wide receiver, you try to do something at practice and you don't make it through. Do you agree there? Like, we see that happen a lot. The guy goes out of practice and then either is compromised or they go back into rehab more. Whatever the reasoning is behind it, we don't always know. But the guys not making it through practice that are injured is a pretty normal occurrence. Now, this one, he's not testing out, right, like, is his hamstring tight? Is his shoulder strong enough? It's like, can he grip the football, right? It's his throwing hand to throw the football. If he can't grip the football, the most basic part of playing the position, right, before you throw the ball is just taking the snap, holding the ball. And there's a chance, I saw people on Twitter, doctors on Twitter, normal, an injury like this can be a month. There's a healing process, especially if he doesn't need surgery. Whenever they say you don't need surgery on something like a bad sprain, right, when someone sprains a knee or sprains a shoulder, there is just a rehab time of, you don't need to be a doctor, no, rest, rehab, and not do much on it. Well, part of practicing is like you stress it out. And I don't think he'd be capable of throwing the ball. So I don't 75%, 30%, I don't know, but under no circumstances, if this guy is fully healthy and ready to go, given that he's had much more time to prepare now, and as Kyle said, like, he gets the game plan too. Like, he's been preparing like the starter now for a while because that's just what the backup quarterback has to do on top of his other duties. That you can put a compromised Jimmy Garoppolo that we've already seen, like, fully healthy can be compromised if he's a little off, and put your season in the hands of a guy who can't grip a football. Like, just the conspiracy theories aside, he's hurt. It's not fake. Now, how we got here seems a little weird, but, like, if you can't grip the football and throw it normally and here's the other thing. When Rodgers immunized and he missed the game against the Chiefs back when the rules were still like 10 days for a non-vax guy, and we knew he was going to be able to come back the following week, I forget who they were playing, but he was going to be, like, ready to be off the list on Saturday. So he was going to miss the following week of practice. And everyone's like, yeah, of course, like, Rodgers, fucking, who cares? All the good quarterbacks, like Dak, Stafford, like, they miss a week of practice for whatever reason, but they're game ready. You're like, yeah, whatever. Jimmy, to me, is not under that category of, like, he just can't practice. It's just, you got to go with him, and he's 60, 70%, and he can't really grip the ball. Like, I'm out.
Well, I think that goes back to
I might be out. Honestly, if Nick Mullins was the backup, I'd be like, just go. Now that Trey Lance is the guy, I think Kyle would get destroyed if he threw out Jimmy, who clearly looked off and just kind of rode him for a while, and it threw a couple picks and got down and ended up losing the game, and, like, Trey was just there on the sideline. That I don't think.
I think that's a correct opinion, but I don't think that has anything to do with Kyle's decision.
Well, I think that would be borderline nuts on his part to do something like that. You don't? put a compromised Jimmy Garoppolo out
well,
there?
again, I think we're making conclusions without all the information. Like, what is Jimmy's percentage? And whether I think it's crazy or not, it's about what is he going to do. And I think he leans Jimmy Garoppolo. He has all year long. That's clear. So he would lean Jimmy Garoppolo after that Titans game if Jimmy were 100%. I believe Jimmy would be starting this week against the Texans. I don't think he was going to get benched.
But you're in agreement. You think Trey is starting this week?
I think Trey is starting this week, yeah. And I think it goes back to what you said. What you just said goes back to something you said yesterday, which is it's one thing if you've got an ankle that we're resting. When it's your hand that we're resting, we got to know ahead of time if you can throw. Like, if you can't really move, we're just going to shoot up your ankle, and whatever you can give us, we'll see how well you manage a game that way once the game starts. It'd be kind of weird. Like, the scenario that we're talking about, if you want to really take it to the extreme, would be that you go, Jimmy, we're going to rest him as much as possible. We're going to start him against the Texans. And after a couple series, if it doesn't look like he can throw, we're getting him out of there, right? It doesn't feel like that's how Kyle would do this. Kyle doesn't want to do it that way.
Wouldn't that be a little crazy? Wouldn't you just want to
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that is how a lot of injuries get treated, to your point. Like, you just wait until the game and you go, we're rolling with this guy. We're going to see what we can get out of him. The difference is that most positions are not. I think where that is different is I don't know if you really treat you would treat another position that way. You don't necessarily treat a quarterback that way, right? You go, how many snaps?
Like a right tackle or a safety or whatever. Like, is this guy good to go? It's like if Devontae Adams, like, he's not. Just pull him out, put Lazard in there, or,
And even if Aaron Rodgers doesn't practice, you kind of know based on a little bit of throwing the ball around whether or not his shoulder's good or something like that, right?
Yeah,
you would know.
His deal, he was healthy. He just wasn't allowed in the facility. Remember, in that example.
Well, I'm not talking about COVID. I just meant Aaron. If Aaron had some injury, like, you would know. It wouldn't be like Kyle Shanahan would not throw Jimmy out there without having seen him throw the football, even if he hasn't practiced.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like, for example, we were thinking about putting a big bet on the Rams this weekend. Lamar Jackson is going to be, is limited in practice today, and they're, obviously coming back from the injury. Like, Lamar Jackson, and basically their offense now has morphed into his offense, so all the quarterbacks they have can run around too. But, like, I fully understand John Harbaugh if they get to the game and, like, maybe have a quick hook on Lamar Jackson. Like, I would treat Lamar Jackson, I guess. It's different. I guess it's somewhat similar because his running is such a big part of his game. So if his ankle is off, but treating Lamar Jackson different than Jimmy Garoppolo, especially when you're backup quarterback, while he's an unknown, you did bet the fucking farm on him. And now everyone in your organization, not necessarily Kyle, but Kyle was complimentary of him on Monday, have kind of been blowing him for a month.
Yeah, but I could say, well, but the Ravens backup's pretty good. So they should play him in that situation too. He's a known.
But he's hurt, I think.
But I'm just saying, like, in you know what I mean? In that situation, it's just about how much better do you think this version of what you're getting is than this version of what you're getting? How much better is this version of
I'm just speaking from listen, I understand that Kyle does not give a shit about the fans or the reaction on our podcast or any of that. But the fans, it would be a little weird, and then they would be very angry, and rightfully so, if Jimmy came out, which I don't expect to happen. But I can't, like, 100% say it because I think Kyle beats to his own drum and looks shitty and puts him in a position that they have to go with Trey mid-game. Like, I think people would be like, what was he doing?
Yeah.
It would be fair to criticize him in that scenario, which, while unlikely, it's possible because of Kyle and how little he gives a shit about the outside stuff. He'll do whatever he believes. And my point always goes with coaches is, coaches can be wrong sometimes, even the best. Like Bill Walsh I'm sure was wrong every once. Belichick, Kyle, right? It's okay to be wrong.
To me, the part that I keep going back to in that scenario, or a lot of the scenarios we've talked about this year, is that Kyle likes Trey Lance more than Jimmy Garoppolo. He traded 3 number 1s to get him. Like, he wants Trey Lance to be his quarterback. So it's telling at times that he doesn't force Trey Lance into games the way I think most coaches kind of would if they have a guy they like and a guy that frustrates them. He doesn't do it.
Do you think, but in a vacuum, like the Titans game, do you think he liked Trey Lance in that vacuum of that week more than Jimmy Garoppolo?
No. But what I'm saying is, like, when the door kind of opens for him to put Trey in, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, he still trusts Jimmy more, right? And so the question is, like, how bad does Jimmy's hand have to be for him to trust Jimmy less?
But could you get yourself, like if you're a parent and, you know, I used to go through this with my parents. It's like, when is it okay to let me watch a rated R movie? Like, not at 12, but at 14, or not at 14, but at 15. Like, when you get these arbitrary dates, like, did he have in his mind, like, I just got to give him the year off if we can avoid it at all costs? Now, they might just not be able to avoid it now, but did he have that set? Like, he's not really going to play this year. Not going to give him starts. Jimmy would have to lose me like 3 straight games in a row to bench him, which he did and didn't get benched, but you know what I mean. It feels like he somewhat had this arbitrary decision in his head set, which may turn out to be the right thing, may turn out to be the wrong thing. We'll see. But that's what it feels like a little bit to me, given that, like, you know, his refusal to pivot on Jimmy, like, again, good player, but not, to me, top 10 quarterbacks get that type, like, obviously the top guys, but even, you know, a Dak, a Stafford, like, yeah, you're giving those guys. To me, Jimmy kind of early in the season had lost the true benefit of the doubt, even if he has a couple decent games against some rando teams.
Yeah.